Hello and welcome everybody back to Speak It As It's Raw. Yes, I started this podcast a little while back, maybe did about 5 episodes and then stopped. And the reason that I stopped was because I was looking for my own voice. I know that I like to speak unscripted, and so I tried it, but I couldn't really find my voice. And it took me a little while. This is going to be one of the three topics that we're going to talk about today. But first, I would like to introduce you back to Speak It As It's Raw, a podcast where I go completely unscripted. There are no edits to these videos. I take it straight, I shoot it straight, and you're going to hear my voice. And so, what I'd like to do is just touch upon a few topics. I do not have a time limit for this video or any of these Speak It As It's Raw videos. So just for you to know, you're in for a show. And so for all my other videos, I typically keep it under 3 minutes or so. This one, I'm just straight off just talking. There are different topics. I try to do these every day, but there are no promises. So whenever I have something to say, I will jump on and I will share with you some wisdom or whatever you want to call it. So today's topics, I have my notes here just to remind me what they are, but again, no scripts, is going to be number one, coming out of my shell. So this is how I started this show. This is what this show is all about. And so I want to talk a little bit about how to find your voice and how to come out of your shell. The second thing is something that's just been bothering me lately. Well, a couple of things have been bothering me lately. And the first thing is when I hear people saying that it takes them a decade or decades to figure out their life, that irks me. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And the last thing we're going to talk about is spousal support in your business, in whatever it is that you do. So many of us have partners, many of us have spouses, and what is it like to have their support? A really important topic, something else that has been bothering me lately. So let's jump right in. So talking about the voice, okay? That was the first thing. I was sitting on it and meditating for the past couple of weeks. What is my voice? How do I like to talk? What is it that I want to say? So when I first started going into or considering consulting, I had a consulting business about a decade ago, and back in 2010 is when the consulting company was shut down. But I had that for a couple of years, and in that consulting company, I was a very ruthless kind of person. So I was very, very strong. I was very tough. I would use very strong language. I was that kind of guy that would beat the living daylights out of somebody because we want results. I noticed that that wasn't totally who I was or what really was my voice. And so over time, I would research and I would look at how do other consultants and other coaches and other people do it. And so I related the most to people like Eckhart Tolle, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Jay Shetty, these kind of people where they're very soft-spoken, they're mindful, and they're very down-to-earth. And I was trying to stay away from people like Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, what's his name? Grant Cardone, who are also from that tough, character speaking, whatever it is. And I was thinking that I'm kind of more in the middle of those two. So I do believe in mindfulness, and I do think that mindfulness is very important, but mindfulness is something that you have to practically do every day in your life. And it does nerd me when I see people who are just going about life, and there's so much more to life, and why waste it? I just don't get it. And there are a lot of things that I see around that just bother me in the sense that there is so much more. Why are people complaining all the time? If people only just really took a moment and really became more mindful and became more aware of their surroundings, they could do so much better. For example, there was somebody I was talking to about procrastination. And he was telling me that he procrastinates and he can't hold himself accountable and he needs this and he needs that and he needs permission and he needs, and like, oh my gosh, you want to piss me off? That's how you do it. But I'm going to say it in a nice but firm kind of way, the way I'm talking right now. And I'll tell him, listen, buddy, your life is in your hands and you have to make a decision. Procrastinate later. If anything, if you want to procrastinate about procrastinating. But right now, get your shit together and get stuff done. I mean, seriously. If you badly want to succeed, the success is in your hands and you got to do it. There are steps to be taken. So, how do you say that and not come across too strong, but come across strong enough? So these kind of videos, I'm going to be talking in this strong and strong enough, but also in a very practical way, in a down-to-earth, practical way. This is just who I am. This is my voice. I may, people may like it. People may not like it. You have the freedom of, you have the freedom to stop this video, never listen to me again, whatever. That's totally fine. Or just keep on watching if this is the stuff you kind of like. So this is who I'm gearing to, and I'm talking to people who want to listen, to somebody who's going to hold them accountable, somebody who's going to say it the way it is not going to hold back, but is also going to keep things very down to earth, simple, plain, and I'm not going to, beat around the bush with you, but I won't also beat you up. So it's going to be kind of like in the between. That's going to be more or less my approach until I decide to change it. And that's life. We all change and we grow and we learn new things. And until then, we'll have a chat and we will go straight at it. So the second thing is, which, brings me, it's kind of tied in. It brings me to the topic of, I hear people saying, oh, it took me 40, 30, 50, whatever years to realize and to notice. Now, I was sitting the other day, again, meditating and saying, I've only really, taken about 5 to 10 years to become, the person that you see here right now today. Well, not really become, but more or less, bring it out in myself and sort of decide not to give a crap about anybody and sort of just to get out there and say things the way they are and not care too much about people. All that stuff is very, very recent, and it's all like until I got the courage to finally just come out on my own and just say, hey, who do I owe anything to? Who do I need to talk? Like, who cares, right? You often see that in older people. I was in a synagogue one time and a rabbi was speaking, and he said that older people, one of the things that they regret the most is that they didn't come out of their shell anytime sooner, and that they're only out of their shell for real in their later stages of life. And here I am, only in my 30s, and I feel that way already. Like, I honestly don't care what people think. I honestly don't care. I'm living my life, I'm doing me, and I'm just going about it. And if that appeals to certain people, great. If it doesn't, then that's fine. Why is it that some people take, 30, 40, 50 years to figure out their life? It doesn't really register with me. And so I meditated on that and I took the time to think about it. So I think that we live in a society or in an era, if you will, where this is now okay. It's okay to have your opinion. It's okay to have, to want to come up with whatever. Now, okay, I get it. Some places right now, lately in this past year or so, are censoring, but I think that's going to be very short-lived. But I also believe that in today's day and age, people are, they care less about what other people think. People are more mindful. Mindfulness is everywhere. Some are more, I guess, spiritual than others. Others are, more practical. Let's say I focus on the more practical side of things, but people appreciate things that they didn't necessarily appreciate a generation or two ago as much as we appreciate it today. So my wife is the one who brought this up, and it was very interesting to me, as we meditate also together. And she said that what took me 5 years is because I live in an era where it's going to be common. Whereas somebody who was, 20, 30, 40, 50 years that it took them, they lived in various different eras than what we live in today. And so really, if we dig in, we could perhaps deduce, I'm not 50, so I don't know, but perhaps those people who took all this time to kind of realize it, they really started about 5 or 10 years ago, or, in this era. So for real, they're kind of on the same, I guess path, or they're on the same level, I guess, if you will, as where we are. So just because I was born in this era, so maybe it took me less time, and go figure what's going to happen in 20, 30, 40 years from now. We're only going to grow and get wiser. And in 20, 30, 40 years from now, we're going to live in a new era where what's going to take me, quote unquote, 20, 30 years to learn, people in that era, people who are born in that era, will take them less time, 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. And it's an interesting thought. I don't know for certain if that's actually the truth, but I feel that it holds a very strong merit. Feel free to reach out. By the way, these are, comment, like, whatever, reach out, and I would love to have that discussion with you. I'm open to that. Or check out those AMAs. You could also refer back to here, and we could chat about that as well. By the way, also another thing is that if any of you are watching this video and you have questions and you have things you want to hear my unfiltered ideas on, then by all means send me those questions and I will do videos on those, if that's of value to you guys. So let me know. Anyway, so the last topic I want to talk about today is talking about that spousal support. So I have this client, and that client is really trying to grow a business and succeed and everything, and he needs support, okay? And his wife supports him. And, from time to time, we share about our experiences and stuff. And he often talks to me about how incredible it is that my wife is so unequivocally supportive in things that I do. There are some roundtables that I conduct that my wife is part of it. A lot of you know that my wife helps me a lot with the operations and behind the scenes of my business. Now, I want to talk a quick second about that. What does it mean to support your spouse? Okay. My wife also has another job, and I support her in that job as well. What does it mean to support? Does it just mean to be standing behind and just with pom-poms and saying, "Hoorah, you got this"? Like, what does support really mean? So back in the day, I used to do some dating coaching. I was planning on becoming a marriage therapist. So I started off when I was in school. I started off coaching in relationships and with dating and stuff like that, as to support, my education. I quickly came to learn that I don't like that aspect of coaching as much, and I love business so much more. So that's why I'm now a consultant / partner. That's why I deviated from that. But going back to what I was saying is that in the relationship coaching and in many of my relationship coaching that I do and I did, I would often hear these, for example, women that said, "Oh, I want a supportive husband, and I want a husband who's going to take on all the responsibilities of supporting the household. He has to have a really good job." And then I would talk to men who would say, "Oh my gosh, all the women that I'm dating or many of the women that I'm dating and many of the women that I'm talking to, all want me to be really wealthy and have a crazy job, and their expectations are ridiculous." So let's play devil's advocate on both sides. Number one, for the woman to want a supportive husband, typically in the circles of the people that I was coaching and that I was talking to, it's very common for the woman to be the mother of the house and to take care of the home, and to not necessarily work. And she wants to make sure that that she's provided and she's taken care of. So it's absolutely normal for a woman to expect a husband to work in those circles. And there's nothing wrong with asking for that. In fact, in the Jewish religion, there is a contract that is written out. It's called a Ketubah. The contract is written out, and oh my gosh, I wish people actually knew, even in the Jewish world, how important this contract is and what it actually says in it, and what men are being held accountable for towards their wives. Even though it's a document that was written for very, very long time ago, nonetheless, when you really analyze it, you see the actual wisdom that's in there. One of the provisions, one of the things that's written in this ketubah is that the man is responsible for all provisions to his wife, has to make sure that she has everything she needs, and he's fully responsible to her. The moment he does not support her, and he doesn't work, and he doesn't, bring home a salary or whatever it is, he is breaking contract effectively. So I often say, and even for myself, I hold myself completely accountable, completely responsible. It is my moral obligation to make money and to support my family. That's straight up what it is. Now, just as much as it is a man's responsibility to work and to help his wife in that kind of way, the wife is just as equally responsible, and it's just as much her moral obligation to allow her husband to support her, which means if he needs to go to work, he goes to work, and whatever that means, not necessarily 9 to 5 or whatever it is. Granted, they have to talk about this and they have to have communication, and I would say way before you get married. So let me give you an example about myself. In my situation, I came to this realization before I got married, and I was dating this way. I straight up told every woman that I was dating that I am going to be a businessman. That's straight up. And I'm going to work, and I'm not going to be a 9 to 5 kind of guy. And if I have to travel, I have to travel. If I have to, whatever it is. And we had this very, very specific, straight up conversation, and my wife that I got married to accepted that, and she was part of it, and she was on board for it. So, this is great when you're dating, and that's why, the people that I was coaching in the dating world, that works for them. But, it gets tricky once you are married, and that's a whole discussion, that's a whole other discussion. But something I want to touch upon is that just as much as it is a man's responsibility to support his wife in terms of going out, going to get work, whatever it is, and she needs to be supportive of him, she needs to be involved with him too. For example, isn't it normal that women want their husband's help around the house? There's kids, there's cleanup, there's stuff. She would expect her husband to also take part of cleaning the house. But if we were to say, oh, no, I only support you in, your responsibilities and your thing that you're doing, then he could just say, woohoo, I'm here. I'm going to, coach you, or I'm going to be your cheerleader or whatever it is, and you got this. No, he's going to get in. He's going to get his hands dirty. He's going to go and he's going to clean. He's going to be part of it. So responsibilities go both ways. If a husband needs the help, okay, I don't know. It depends on your situation. Now, for example, if a man is a welder, okay, he doesn't expect his wife to come help him weld. If he's part of a union, let's say, he doesn't expect his wife to have opinions about unions. That we're not talking about that. But I'm talking about, let's say, in my situation, in a coaching situation, if I need help from my wife understands that she's coming to help. And if my wife needs help, I fully understand that I'm there to support her and to help her. And that means getting my hands dirty, taking out the garbage, the whatever it is, taking care of the kids, whatever it means to help her and support her, that's what that means. And so there has to be this being on the same page with one another. And that's really what I'm trying to drive to. Spousal support really ultimately means being on the same page. If you guys didn't do it before you're dating, you should do it now. It's never too late. And the more you wait around, the worse it's going to get for you. Sit down and have a business meeting. I could go into a whole discussion of how to do that, but that's for another time and it's going to be too long. But have an open communication. And the most important part about an open communication is getting on the same page. If you and your wife or you and your husband are not on the same page, forget about it. That's when all the problems begin. You will have problems. I guarantee that to you. You have to get on the same page. Have a communication, lay out the rules, and the rules have to be fair. You're both 100% involved with each other, whatever that takes. And no, things will not always be comfortable. Sometimes you just have to do things outside of your comfort zone. That's part of life. And that even is going into another topic that I wanted to talk in another video about what it means to become successful. Very quick snapshot. What it means to become successful means you have to do whatever it takes to become successful. Success will not come to you, out of the blue. Success will not knock on your door. You have to go turn everything upside down for success. That's how these things work. Okay? So, in short, to summarize, let's go backwards. Spousal support basically means be on the same page. If you need each other's help, you are both there. Hands-on actions. Actions speak louder than words. Second thing, that it takes certain people decades to figure it out. Don't allow decades to control you or try to figure things out now. Now's the time, whatever it takes. We're in an amazing time of history. Things are at our fingertips. Skills could be learned anytime. You could hire any coach. You could hire any mentor. You could, get anything on YouTube, anything on Google. There should be no excuse why you don't have access and information to you. Go out and learn. Go out and change your life. And, and don't wait decades until you decide to live a better life. And the last thing is go out and find your voice. Stop caring about what everybody else thinks. Who gives a flying hoot about what people think? Be you. People will love you just for who you are. People will hate you just for who you are. And guess what? Who cares? It's all about who you are, an individual that has something to say. You have a voice. And if you don't share with the world, you are literally robbing the world from your wisdom. And those who will appreciate you, and that's the bottom line. And focus only on them. Don't focus on your haters. You just simply have to be okay that you don't please everybody. That's today's show. Let's see you another time. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your comments. I'm always up to open communication. I don't mind criticism. If you have a problem with me, bring it at me. But don't forget that I'll bring it right back at you. Hey, that's how this works. And, let's have a chat. And let's see you next episode. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.